Dr. Hippos Holiday. Animation. Chapter 1. A doctor in desperate need of a break. In a small, bustling town called Vegeville, patients of all shapes and sizes lined up in front of the renowned clinic, tater treats and more. The signboard, adorned with an image of a smiling potato wearing spectacles, was quite famous in the neighborhood, mostly because of its quirky chief Dr. Hip Potato. But no one ever called him that. To all and sundry, he was the legendary Dr. Hippo, a name he earned not for any grand achievements but because of a hilarious typo on his first day's clinic signboard. Instead of correcting it, the good doctor had laughed heartily and said, "Well, might as well embrace it." As a doctor, Dr. Hippo was impeccable in his treatments, but as a potato, he was, well, a bit mashed in the head. He often forgot where he kept his stethoscope, and patients were used to seeing him enter the room, only to exit and return, mumbling about leaving his glasses in another room. Once, he'd even prescribed mashed potatoes to a flu patient. "For the soul," he'd said, winking. His clinic walls bore testimonials that were as amusing as they were heartwarming. Came in with a cold, left with a recipe for cheesy potato wedges. Feeling better already? Read one. But now, after years of working tirelessly, listening to vegetable woes, and sometimes being the therapist to a sad sack of potatoes, Dr. Hippo felt the weight of exhaustion. On some particularly tiring days, he felt as if he'd been thrown into a sack and beaten around. It was clear to everyone, especially his ever-observant nurse Gina, a rather stringy but very efficient green bean, that he needed a break. One day, after yet another misadventure where Dr. Hippo accidentally used a thermometer as a pen, Gina finally spoke up. "Dr. Hippo, you need a holiday. How about you plant yourself on a sunny beach somewhere?" The doctor chuckled. "Gina, I can barely remember to water the office plants. What if I forget my own sunscreen and turn into a roastie?" "You mean roasted, Doc?" Gina quipped with a smile. "That's the one." Gina rolled her eyes, but her voice softened. "All jokes aside, Doc, you need a break. You're going to burn out. And not in the delicious crispy potato wedge way." He sighed. "I know, Gina. But the clinic." Gina waved him off. "Can run without you for a week or two. Plus, I've got it covered. Remember, I've dealt with more salad dramas than you've had hot dinners." Dr. Hippo pondered, picturing himself lounging under the sun, sipping a cool drink, and then his face lit up. "All right. I'm doing it. Dr. Hippo is taking a vacation." Gina clapped. "That's the spirit. Where to?" "Somewhere sunny, with a breeze, and absolutely no mention of potato dishes on the menu," he said with a playful grin. The following days saw Dr. Hippo in a tizzy of preparations. He bought himself a tiny straw hat, an even tinier pair of sunglasses, and sunblock because a doctor always takes precautions. As the day of departure neared, Gina handed him a booklet titled, "Gravy Bay, Where Dreams Set Sail and Potatoes Float." The doctor chuckled at the tagline, feeling a surge of excitement. Dr. Hippo could already feel the wind in his sprouts, imagining the adventures that lay ahead. Little did he know that Gravy Bay wasn't just about sun and sea, but a series of comical escapades that would make this trip unforgettable. And so, with his bags packed, optimism in his heart, and the promise of no kitchen knives in sight, Dr. Hippo set forth on the adventure of a lifetime. Chapter 2. The comedic packing fiasco. Gravy Bay was just a few days away, and Dr. Hippo was in high spirits. The mere thought of a vacation had revitalized him, and he walked around with a little jig in his step. However, packing for the holiday was a different kettle of fish, or rather, a different sack of spuds. "All right," he said to himself, standing before an open suitcase, "I just need the essentials." He started with his stylish beachwear, a potato sack with the word, "beach," printed on it. Perfect for a tan, he thought, laying it in the suitcase. He moved on to toiletries, but as he went to grab his toothbrush, he mistakenly packed a tiny spade. "For those hard-to-reach places," he commented, not realizing the mix-up. Next, he wanted to pack some snacks for the journey and ended up with a bag of tortilla chips. "Well, they're technically my distant cousins," he chuckled. Gina popped in to check on his progress. Her eyes widened as she spotted the chips. "Dr. Hippo, are you sure you want to bring them?" Dr. Hippo nodded. "Oh, they're just for a little crunch on the trip. They understand." Rolling her eyes, Gina decided to help. She noticed the beachwear first. "Doc, you do realize this is a sack, right?" Dr. Hippo blinked. "Isn't that the latest trend?" Gina bit her lip, suppressing a laugh. "Maybe in vegetable, but let's get you something more appropriate." She handed him a printed t-shirt with the slogan, "I'm one hot potato," and a pair of shorts. Dr. Hippo examined them. "Well, I've always wanted to be a trendsetter." The packing continued. Gina found the spade and raised an eyebrow. "Planning to dig up treasure, Doc?" He looked puzzled. "Isn't that my toothbrush?" Gina stifled her laughter, replacing the spade with the actual toothbrush. "Remember, Dr. Hippo, no digging in your mouth, okay?" The duo then moved on to footwear. Dr. Hippo proudly held up a pair of clogs. "Traditional potato shoes." Gina sighed. "Maybe let's stick to flip-flops?" As they were almost done, Dr. Hippo had one last item to pack, his camera. But instead of a camera, he ended up packing a potato masher. "For those picture-perfect moments," he exclaimed. Gina, trying hard not to crack up, gently swapped the masher for his actual camera. "You know, Doc, I'm beginning to see why you never took a vacation before." He chuckled. "It's a spud life, Gina." Once the suitcase was, finally, truly ready, the duo stepped back, admiring their handiwork. Dr. Hippo's eyes glistened with appreciation. "You know, Gina, I don't know what I'd do without you." She winked. "Probably end up mashed on a beach somewhere." Both burst into hearty laughter, imagining the series of comedic blunders that had just unfolded. With his suitcase packed, correctly, this time, and his heart full of excitement, Dr. Hippo was one step closer to his much-anticipated holiday. Little did he know that the packing fiasco was just the beginning of his comical adventures. Gravy Bay had much more in store for our delightful doctor. Chapter 3. Airport Antics. The morning of the trip arrived, and Dr. Hippo was as ready as a potato can be. Well, as ready as Dr. Hippo can be. He wore his new "I'm one hot potato" shirt with pride and had his suitcase in tow, heading out the door. He decided to hail a taxi, but in typical Dr. Hippo fashion, he waved down an ice cream truck by mistake. "Airport, please," he said, hopping in. The driver, a bit puzzled but always happy to make a sale, responded, "Sure thing. But only if you buy a cone." "Fair deal," agreed Dr. Hippo, thoroughly enjoying his mint choc chip ride to the terminal. At the airport entrance, he realized he had forgotten his passport. Panicking, he frantically searched his pockets, pulling out a potato peeler, a ticket to the potato circus, and finally, to his relief, the passport tucked between two potato pancake recipes. Checking in seemed straightforward, or so one would think. Dr. Hippo mistook the luggage conveyor belt for a fun ride. Round and round, we go," he cried, as the staff chased after him, trying to explain that it wasn't a merry-go-round. Once he was off the luggage ride and successfully checked in, he faced the challenge of security. As he walked through the metal detector, alarms blared. The security officer looked stern. "Sir, do you have any metal objects on you?" "Doctor?" Hippo blushed, reaching into his pocket to produce a metal potato masher. "I forgot about the picture-perfect moments," he said sheepishly. Past security, Dr. Hippo saw a row of shiny luggage carts. Mistaking one for a scooter, he jumped on, propelling himself through the airport, weaving in and out of the duty-free shops, knocking over displays of perfumes and chocolates. An airport staff member shouted, "Sir, those are not for riding." But Dr. Hippo, oblivious, replied, "It's a spud-tacular ride." Suddenly, he noticed a massage chair and, thinking it was his boarding gate, settled down comfortably. "Ah, first-class seating," he sighed, inserting a coin. The chair began to vibrate vigorously, causing Dr. Hippo to shout, "Turbulence already?" Finally making his way to the correct boarding gate, he found himself face to face with a flight attendant. "Boarding pass, please," she asked. He handed her the ice cream wrapper from earlier. "Sir, this is a wrapper." Dr. Hippo gasped, "Oh, you mean I'm not flying Ice Cream Airlines?" The flight attendant, holding back laughter, gently guided him to his seat. "No, sir, but I promise we have ice cream on board." As the plane took off, Dr. Hippo gazed out of the window, his heart full of excitement, and his belly full of ice cream. The airport antics were behind him, but the holiday was just beginning. With the skies ahead and a penchant for unexpected hilarity, our delightful Dr. Hippo was on his way to Gravy Bay. The question was, would Gravy Bay be ready for him?